All right, we are live. Today we have a very general idea of what we are planning to talk about, and it is how do cities die? I had an interesting conversation with a friend about real estate and how you can see that if a lot of real estate investment is happening in a city, that means the city is growing, and if it's not, the city is dying. And that's just one of the things that you can one of the indicators you can look at to understand if a city is growing, if the city has a future, if the current generation, the younger generation of that city believes in staying there or just moving outside. So very interesting concepts. Let's see. Dio decline through a variety of mechanisms, often involving a combination of economic, social, environmental, and political factors. Economic shift and deindustrialization. When a city's economic base shifts or collapses, it can lead to urban migration. Think Detroit and leaving behind a landscape of abandoned factories and residences. This economic shift can result from industries moving to areas with cheaper labor, technological changes, global competition. As economic base erodes, people move out in search for better opportunities, resulting in decrease in population. This leads to a reduced tax base, which can exacerbate the decline by making it difficult to maintain infrastructure and services. This is very interesting. Economic base erodes, and most of the times these are businesses and, let's say, wealthy people or wealthy businessmen, and they are like, okay, I don't think the opportunity is over here, opportunities in that another city. So they move there, and they are usually the ones who pay most of the taxes, their companies themselves individually. And these people who are very flexible, they move out, that reduces the tax base for that city, and that really affects in the infrastructure. Yeah, that is something that you can see in the infrastructure and the services of that city. So very interesting. Population loss can be seen in cities where the quality of life diminishes, causing a downward spiral of economic and social degradation. Hmm. Changes in trade routes or transport systems. Historically, cities have thrived due to their strategic locations on trade routes or transportation networks. If these routes changes or if new systems bypass a city, hmm, strategic location or trade route on trade routes or transportation networks. If these routes changes or if new systems bypass a city, like the shift from sea to rail or from rail to highways, the city might lose its economic reason death. Hmm. Economic reason to be, I believe. That's what it means. For instance, cities that were once major ports or trade hubs can decline if they no longer serve these functions. Hmm. This is very interesting because this is happening in certain cities in India where we had this one city which is where all the diamond business happens, but that city is very far away from major ports. So all the international people come to this city and they trade over here. But now, as technology is getting better, as more and more and better roads are coming in and more access is coming, and this city is now developing, people have just built an international airport over here. So that is really affecting the business in this city, in this other city where it was supposed to be the sales center, the sales hub where you sell diamonds. But now international traders, they're just like, hey, we can go directly to the source. We don't have to go to this city now. So that is interesting. Changes in trade routes or transport systems. Environmental factors. Natural disasters or gradual environmental changes can lead to a city's decline. For example, cities built on unstable ground or in areas prone to flooding might eventually become uninhabitable due to repeated natural disasters or rising sea levels. Venice is often cited as an example where environmental factors and human activity contribute to its potential demise. Hmm. Where environmental factors and human activity contribute to its potential demise. Venice is definitely very, let's say, in a dangerous position where a little bit of flooding, some a minor earthquake that can damage the infrastructure and the city is at the risk. Social and political dynamics, issues like crime, corruption, or ineffective governance can drive residents away. Additionally, social policies that fail to keep pace with changing demographics or changing or economic realities can result in urban decay. The lack of investment in education, health, and cultural infrastructure can make a city less appealing to live in. Hmm. Infrastructure and urban planning failures. Poor planning or lack of investment in infrastructure can lead to cities becoming less functional over time. This is really cool. Like, we are now in a world where people no more believe that, hmm, it's still changing, but in very traditional cultures, people no more believe that, hey, if I was born in this city, I'm supposed to just stay in the city and this is my world and this is where I will die. They very much are focused on that, hey, if I, I earn money, I pay taxes. If I'm not being served properly over here, then I would probably move to a place that would better serve me. Poor planning or lack of investment in infrastructure can lead to cities becoming less functional over time. Cities that grow too quickly without sustainable planning can face issues like inadequate housing, transportation, or utility systems, leading to a long term decline if not addressed. Hmm. Cultural and demographic shifts. Sometimes cities decline because the cultural or demographic makeup that once defined them changes or disperses. For example, if a city loses its cultural vibrancy due to a lack of new residents or if younger generations move away for better opportunities, the city can lose its allure and vitality. Globalization, technological changes. As the world becomes more interconnected, the economic roles of cities can change dramatically. Cities dependent on one industry can suffer if that industry becomes obsolete or moves elsewhere due to global economic shifts or technological advancements. Interesting. Let's see what we have. From about 2000 BC onwards, chronic droughts, it is believed, caused urban collapse. The cities became depopulated and people returned to rural areas, an increase of an inverse of the process that had originally led to the rise of Indus Valley civilization. Hmm. Venice is increasingly flooding due to dense construction on a location that probably doesn't viably promote density to that degree. As quality of life decreases, people leave the region. When you have more people leaving than arriving, prices fall further. Homes, commercial real estate. This is how city fails. You've seen this again and again in history. New York, Philadelphia, Detroit. Hmm. Oh, this one is talking specifically about downtown San Francisco. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. COVID had a bad effect over here, but now when I went back to SF, I thought the city looks good. The city looks good. There are a lot of people over here. Downtown SF is in trouble. And where does Michelle work? Michelle work at Get Podcast AI. Okay. And it holds serious ramifications for the city and region. Some stats: 24% of office space is vacant, 85% decrease in convention attendees, 76% decrease in BART rides. Downtown SF is teetering on the edge, and city officials have yet to come up with a plan to make the fundamental changes that some economists and business leaders argue could make the area thrive again. Additional stats: sales tax revenue down to 40%, worker return rate 26%, expected worker return rate long term 50%. Why does this matter? Because without workers, stores go out of business. Without stores, the neighborhood becomes blighted. A blighted neighborhood, reduction in tourism. Reduction in tourism, empty hotels. Empty hotels, closed stores, closed offices, fewer workers. Fewer workers, lower payroll tax. This creates a negative downward spiral that will lead to further blight and decay. Additionally, fewer workers, emptier streets, homelessness more common and visible, more homelessness, fewer office commuters, reduction in office space, empty office space, buildings for sale, more buildings for sale, reduction in prices, price reduction, lower taxes for buildings, lower taxes, smaller tax base, smaller tax base, service cuts, police, public health, street cleaning, service cuts, Negative impact on quality of life. As quality of life decreases, people leave the region. When you have more people leaving than arriving, prices fall further. Example of homes, commercial real estate. This is how a city fails. We have seen this again and again in history. Hmm. While COVID and the rise of remote work are the primary drivers, the effect of Chesi Boudin's reign is no small factor. Chesa Boudin. The perception that downtown is crime ridden with open air drug dealing, car break ins, and looting has scared people away. Fear is a powerful motivator. To turn this around, I think that the mayor and her team will have a lot of work to do. A few ideas. Select a DA who can swiftly turn around the crime downtown, arrest drug dealers, prosecute looting, enforce QOL laws. This would require tremendous courage. Empower police to enforce QOL, offer shelter to campers, arrest people using drugs publicly, invest in public, invest in downtown public restrooms. Tourist and Uber drivers will benefit tremendously too. Declare state of emergency to expedite initiatives and hiring. Hmm. Declare state of emergency. Move the open air drug den somewhere else inside city owned buildings, such as the top floor of a parking lot. Current situation is a magnet for dealers and it's next to downtown core. Declare downtown a tent free zone and use city land to build temporary shelters. Aggressively patrol BART and enforce QL laws. People from East and South Bay need to feel safe and comfortable commuting in. Ramp up rush hour Muni bus routes so they are more frequent. Enforce fare requirements or staff with security so bus is safe. Tax incentives for SMBs. Hmm. Host events, music and artistic exhibitions, farmers market. I think this is so important. This is so important. I was living near Union Square and they had SantaCon where everybody in the city was dressed up as Santa Claus and they were coming towards they were all like throughout the day there are more and more people coming towards the Union Square. There's a massive Christmas tree over there. There's a massive ice skating rink, and for ice skating I believe they're charging like $18 per person. It was perfect. It felt like the city's alive. Then they had a winter market beside where people are selling clothes and chocolates and muffins and jewelry. And that was perfect. That was perfect. Like it feels like the entire city is out here and it feels lively. So definitely, SF is back. SF is back. Let's see what comments we have. Agree, was a recently and Soma and Financial D absolutely a ghost town on weekday. This makes me sad. I love SF so much. Opportunity beyond comprehension. We are being given the chance to remake our downtown into something livable, the chance to remake our government into being something that serves and encourages commerce. Make no mistake, this opportunity is ours. We earned it, we bought it, and we control the agenda. I think the good thing about SF is that yes, they went through this problem, but also it is home to really smart people, and they will do whatever it takes to bring it back. Of civility, it is much less than courage of heart or holiness. Yet in my walks, it seems to me that the grace of God is in civility. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Let's see. Did we have another post? What was the cultural tutor talking about? The history of India is vast, complex, fascinating, and important, but many people don't know enough about it. So here's a brief overview. No short introduction can capture the full subtlety and detail of Indian history, but knowing a few dates, places, and names is the first step to understanding something more fully. It creates a foundation. So we begin in 3000 BC. Okay, 3000 BC. Story starts with the Indus Valley civilization along with those of Mesopotamia and Egypt. This was among the oldest of all civilized human societies. It flourished in the fertile plains around the Indus River in modern day Afghanistan, Pakistan, northwest India. Hmm. The story starts with the Indus Valley civilization, and it's specifically this modern day Afghanistan, Pakistan, and northwest India. Hmm. This was the this was among the oldest of all civilized human societies. The Indus Valley civilization matured between 2600 and 1900 BC. It had a large population, major cities urban planning, metallurgy, pottery, art, sewage, architecture, and complex social structures. Hmm. Here are the ruins of Mohenjo-daro, one of the great cities which was built around 2500 BC. Yeah, this is crazy. It is crazy that we still have something like this. 2500 BC means 4500 years ago. Crazy. From about 2000 BC onwards, chronic droughts, it is believed, caused urban collapse. The cities became depopulated and people returned to rural areas, an inverse of the process that had originally led to the rise of Indus Valley civilization. Right. Because Indus Valley, it was all about the river, and that's where the societies formed. Fertile land, you could do agriculture, society was formed, and then you have more and more things. You do art and you do metallurgy and stuff. Chronic droughts, and then you have a river. That's where the entire city is formed. That's where the entire civilization is formed. But now you have drought, drought. Hmm. This coincided with the arrival of the Indo-Aryan tribes from Central Asia, who migrated in large numbers in several waves to the Indus Valley and beyond, and they brought with them a language which had also made its way to Europe, hence the Proto-Indo-European connection. Hmm. Plateau of Iran, India, Deccan Plateau. This coincided with the arrival of the Indo-Aryan tribes from Central Asia, who migrated in large numbers and several waves to the Indus Valley and beyond. And they brought with them a language that also which had also made its way to Europe, hence the Proto-Indo-European connection. Proto-Indo-European connection. This marks the start of the Vedic period, which lasted from about 1500 to 500 BC, age of agricultural societies, as opposed to the urban one of the Indus Valley civilization. The Vedic period gets its name from the Vedas. These are ancient religious texts once orally transmitted and then written down in Indo Aryan Sanskrit, which would later become the foundational scriptures of Hinduism. Hmm. These are ancient religious texts once orally transmitted and then written down in Indo Aryan Sanskrit, which would later become the foundational scriptures of Hinduism. Hmm. The Vedic period gets its name from the Vedas. After about 600 BC, there was a process of reurbanization and rapid socioeconomic development. This saw the rise of the 16 Mahajanapadas, great realms, a mix of kingdoms and oligarchies. After about 600 BC, there was a process of reurbanization and rapid socio-economic development. Hmm. This saw the rise of the 16 Mahajanapadas, a mix. Actually, we'll ask Grok, what does this mean? Explain this text. On the left is the capital of the Vajika League, one of the world's early republics. Wow. Okay. Achaemenid Empire, Cambodia, Gandhara, Sindhu, Matsya, Kuru, Sursena, Avanti, Kosala, Kasi, Mala, Vrij, Magad, Ang, Sedi, Asmaka. Wow. Hmm. After about 600 BC, there was a process of reurbanization and rapid socio-economic development. This saw the rise of 16 Mahajanapadas, great realms, a mix of kingdoms and oligarchies. And Siddharth Gautam, the Buddha, was born around this time. He lived in the 6th and 5th centuries BC, all across the great plain of Ganga in northern India. This era also saw the rise of Jainism and the distillation of Vedic Brahmanism into Hinduism proper. Hmm. He traveled across the great plain of the Ganga in northern India. This era also saw the rise of Jainism and distillation of Vedic Brahmanism into Hinduism proper. Distillation into Hinduism proper. Okay. In the 322 BC, the Maurya Empire was founded in Magad, one of the 16 Mahajanapadas, and under the rule of Ashoka the Great, 268 to 232. One of history's foremost rulers came to dominate the majority of India. Ashoka. Hmm. Was Ashoka inspired by Alexander the Great? We have Alexandria of the on the Indus over here. Shahbazgarh, Greco-Bactrians, Seleucid Empire. Hmm. There was also a time when they clashed somewhere over here. Someone clashed. I don't know. Takshila. Takshila. Wow. Delhi. Delhi Meerut. Indraprasth. Patiala. Girnar. Ujjain. Patliputra. Hmm. Mathura. Pratishtana. Amravati. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Kerala Putra. Pandya. Chola. Tamraparni. Interesting. Maurya Empire was founded in Magad, one of the 16 Mahajanapadas under the rule of Ashoka the Great. One of history's foremost rulers came to dominate the majority of India. Ashoka left inscriptions known as edicts right across India, along with a vast legacy of art and architecture. The Maurya Empire flourished economically, commanding as it did the trade routes of India, and Buddhism spread wide and far. Oh, so this was made by Ashoka. Okay, Patliputra, Suvarna Bhumi, Tamba Pamni Dipa, Mahimsa, Vanavasa, Maharatha, Apparanta, Gandhara, Kashmira, Yavanas, Greek to the Hellenistic kingdoms. Wow. Okay. As it did with the trade routes of India, and Buddhism spread wide far. Hmm. In about the 200 BC, the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, which had been established by the successor to Alexander the Great of Macedonia, invaded northern India. This led to one of history's most fascinating eras, the Indo-Greek kingdom and its Greco-Buddhist culture and art. Hmm. Wow. This is really cool that yeah, I don't know, too many thoughts are coming to my mind. This has existed for 2000 years, more than 2000 years. That's crazy. In about 200 BC, the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, which had been established by the successors to Alexander the Great of Macedonia, invaded northern India. This led to one of history's most fascinating eras, the Indo-Greek kingdom and its Greco-Buddhist culture and art. In about 185 BC, the Maurya Empire collapsed, succeeded in the northwest by the Indo-Greek kingdoms and elsewhere by the Shunga Empire. This marks the beginning of the classical era of Indian history, often regarded as Golden Age. In about 185 BC, the Maurya Empire collapsed, succeeded in the northwest by the Indo-Greek kingdoms and elsewhere by the Shunga Empire. This marks the beginning of the classical era of Indian history, often regarded as a golden age. Hmm. This classical era was dominated by different dynasties, such as the Gupta Empire, which ruled until about 550 AD. Hmm. Hinduism saw a great resurgence, culture flourished, and India matured into an internationally significant cultural, economic, and religious force. Hmm. The classical era was dominated by different dynasties such as the Gupta Empire, which ruled until about 550 AD. Hinduism saw a great resurgence, culture flourished, and India matured into an internationally significant cultural, economic, and religious force. Then followed medieval India, a transition between its ancient and modern eras. The collapse of the Gupta Empire left India as a series of splintered kingdoms vying for power, but that didn't halt its economic and cultural growth, which had spread to much of Southeast Asia. Spread of Hinduism and Buddhism from here to Afghanistan, Nepal, Tibet, China, Korea, Japan, Burma, Southeast Asia, Malay, Ceylon. Hmm. Then followed medieval India, transition between its ancient and modern eras. The collapse of the Gupta Empire left India as a series of splintered kingdoms vying for power, but that didn't halt its economic and cultural growth, which had spread to much of Southeast Asia. In the 13th century, Islamic conquest arrived in India at first under Delhi Sultanate and then founded in 1526. The Mughal Empire soon conquered almost the entire Indian subcontinent and ruled for 2 centuries as it became world's largest economy. Hmm. So we had Ashoka. We had the 16 Mahajanapadas. We had Indus Valley civilization. Then we had this reurbanization, 16 Mahajanapadas. We had we had the Mauryan Empire. Then the Empire lost or fell, and then we had the Greco-Bactrian kingdom. Then we had Gupta Empire, and after Gupta Empire, we had a lot of kingdoms. Then we have Mughal Empire. Okay, okay. Actually, this is the kind of the first time when I'm really understanding Indian history. At first, on a very broader sense, on a very broader time scale, that what was happening between 25, like 3000 BC and now. 13th century Islamic conquest arrived in India at first under the Delhi Sultanate, then founded in 1526. Mughal Empire soon conquered almost the entire Indian subcontinent and ruled for 2 centuries. Hmm. Extent of Mughal Empire. You have Kashmir, Kangra, Kumaon, Ayodhya, Bihar, Bengal, Orissa, Deccan, Qutub Shahi, Marathas, Nizam Shahis, Khandesh, Berar, Gondwana, Malwa, Ahmed Shahi, Mewar, Marwar, Rajputana, Sindh, Kutch, Gujarat. Really cool. Really cool. And then Tughlaq, Ahmedabad, Delhi, Daulatabad, Bombay, Goa, Kochi. Hmm. Perhaps the greatest Mughal emperor was Akbar, but it was another emperor, Shah Jahan, who built the famous Taj Mahal in 1631, which is but one of many wonderful examples of Indo-Islamic architecture from this era. Hmm. Taj Mahal. This is beautiful. I've seen it once. The rise of the Mughals can be considered the start of early modern history in India. Meanwhile, of course, Sikhism rose from teachings of Guru Nanak in the late 15th century. Golden Temple. Hmm. In the early 18th century, the Hindu Maratha confederacy sprung up and pounced on Mughal decline, eventually replacing them as the foremost power in India, though a number of other smaller kingdoms and empires flourished at the same time. In the early 18th century, the Hindu Maratha confederacy sprung up, Hindu Maratha, and pounced on Mughal decline, eventually replacing them as the foremost power in India, though a number of other smaller kingdoms and empires flourished at the time. Mysore, Bengal, Malwa. Hmm. European powers had been active in India for a long time, but by the end of 18th century, it was Britain's East India Company that had risen to prominence. By 1818, the British had overcome the Marathas and governed much of India. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 led to the dissolution of the East India Company. The crown took control and the British Raj was established. The Indian Rebellion of 1857. Hmm. This was a mix of direct control and Suze and princely states. Upper Burma, Eastern Bengal, Bengal, United Provinces, Nepal, Rajput Agency, Presidency, Central Province, Hyderabad, Madras Presidency, Mysore, Baluchistan Agency, Punjab, Kashmir, political divisions of the Indian Empire. Hmm. In 1947, after a long nationwide push for independence led by men such as Gandhi and Jinnah, the British Raj was dissolved and two independent states created along religious lines, India and Pakistan. Bangladesh declared independence from Pakistan in 1971. We have India, Balochistan, Punjab, Rajputana, Gujarat, Bombay, Central India, Central Province, Hyderabad, Madras, Bengal, Eastern Bengal. Hmm. Hindus, Sikh, Buddhists, Christians, British Empire 1909. Many details have been edited because Indian history is as broad and deep as that of any continent. One thread cannot do it justice. The idea was to provide a basic timeline and overview for those unfamiliar with the long and rich history of this many storied land. Hmm. Wow. Wow. Give me some recent examples of cities that died. Detroit, Michigan. Once a booming automotive hub, Detroit has faced a dramatic decline due to of the automotive industry, leading to a massive job loss and population decline. From a peak population of nearly 2 million in 1950s, it has dwindled down to around 700,000. The city declared bankruptcy in 2013, highlighting its economic struggles. Large areas of abandoned buildings and homes symbolizing its decline. Flint. Similar to Detroit, Flint's economic base was deeply tied to General Motors. With the decline of GM's operation, the city's population fell from nearly 200,000 in 60s to under 100,000. The water crisis in 2014 further accelerated its decline, leading to health and economic issues, making it one of the stark examples of urban decay. Buffalo, once a significant industrial city, particularly in steel and grain, deindustrialization along with the shift of trade routes led to a population drop from over 500,000 in 1950s to about half that by recent estimates. The economic base eroded, leaving behind many abandoned buildings and a city struggling to reinvent itself. Whoa, San Francisco. Though still a major city, San Francisco has faced recent challenges due to changing work patterns, with tech workers moving out due to remote work options. This has led to a population decrease and a notable increase in office vacancies, contributing to what some describe as a doom loop for downtown areas. Hmm. New Orleans. While not completely dead, it has seen significant population and economic shifts post Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The city lost a considerable portion of its population, with some areas still not fully recovered, affecting its cultural and economic vibrancy. The BP oil spill in 2010 also impacted its recovery. Venice is facing a different kind of decline, not through population loss, but through environmental changes. The city is sinking and the rising sea levels, and with rising sea levels, it faces regular flooding, which threatens its historical structures and livability. This environmental issue is compounded by over-tourism, which has led to a decrease in permanent residents. Give me some recent examples of cities that died outside USA. Hmm. Pripyat. Pripyat was a city built for the workers of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Following the catastrophic nuclear disaster in 1986, the city population was evacuated, has remained largely uninhabited since, turning into a ghost town and a stark reminder of the nuclear disaster's impact. Hashima Island, once known for its coal mining operations, thrived in the early 20th century. However, the decline of coal use in the 1970s, the island was abandoned by 1974. It now stands as an eerie, uninhabited concrete jungle, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its industrial history, but still largely uninhabited. Whoa, I feel I might have seen pictures of this. Varosha, Famagusta, Cyprus, was a glamorous tourist destination in Cyprus until the 1974 Turkish invasion, after which it was fenced off and left abandoned. Hmm. The Greek Cypriot residents were forced to flee, and the area has remained a ghost town with modern buildings and hotels deteriorating over time. There are recent plans for partial reopening, but much of it remains untouched. Centralia, Pennsylvania, relevant due to its unique cause of decline. An underground coal mine fire that started in 62 has never been extinguished, leading to the town's evacuation by the 1980s. While not entirely outside US, it is a notable example of environmental disaster leading to urban abandonment. Hmm. Kedik Chan, remote town far east, was built around coal mining. After Soviet Union's collapse, the mines became unprofitable and the town's population dwindled from over 10,000 to almost none by the early 2000s, with only few residents remaining. Hmm. Wittenoom, once centered around blue asbestos mining, which was later discovered to cause asbestosis and mesothelioma. Mining ceased in 1966 and the town was officially closed in 2007 due to health risk, though few residents opted to stay, turning it into a near ghost town. Hmm. This is interesting, right? Because some people who grow up in a city, grow up in that world, they have spent 50, 60 years in that city. They don't want to leave it. They want to stay there. They want to, but the city, and they might have not even contributed in this risk in this industry, but they are affected. Their entire their place of birth is being affected, and that's crazy. That is crazy. Like even when I would go back home, I feel this urge that it's true that I don't live here anymore, but I want this place to exist. I want a place where I can go back and just feel like, yeah, this is where I grew up. Hmm. Very interesting. Hashima Island. Let's see. Tell me, tell me more about Hashima Island. Yes, I have seen this video. Wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. Hmm. Was abandoned in 1974. Undersea coal mine. This is so cool. This is so cool. Undersea coal mine, it reached a peak population of 5,000 in 1959 and was abandoned in 1974. And this is what it looks like today. Wow. Whoa. Look at this. Look at this. Wow. Wow. This abandoned island in Japan is called Hashima Island. It is man-made and was once a mecca for undersea coal mining. It was a sharp representation of Japan's rapid industrialization, also known as Gonkanjima, meaning battleship island, for its resemblance to a Japanese battleship. Yes, yes. Functioned as a coal facility from 1887 until 1974, almost 100 years. History of the island is darker as Japanese wartime mobilization policies exploited enlisted Korean civilians and Chinese prisoners of war as forced laborers, making them work under harsh conditions. An estimated 1,000 people died as a result. After the war, once the coal reserves started depleting and petroleum began replacing coal, the mines shut down and the people left. It's completely abandoned as a tourist site. The island was named UNESCO World Heritage Historical Site in 2015, and a group of visitors can be taken on tours. Hmm, interesting. Okay, let's see. Officially known as Hashima, located approximately 15 kilometers southwest of Nagasaki, Japan, commonly known as Battleship Island due to its resemblance. Coal was discovered around 1810, but significant mining operations began in 87 when Mitsubishi bought the island. Mitsubishi, it became a major coal mining hub supporting Japan's industrialization. Peak and decline. At its peak in 59, Hashima had a population of about 5,000, making it one of the most densely populated places on Earth at the time. To accommodate the workforce, Mitsubishi built residential complexes, schools, shops, a hospital, and other amenities, including Japan's first large reinforced concrete building in 1916. That's crazy. Okay, so they had a proper city in there. Shima was also known for the forced labor of Koreans and Chinese with conditions that were extremely harsh and have since been recognized as part of Japan's wartime history. Built residential complexes, schools, shops. Coal mines were depleted, and with Japan's shift to petroleum in 60s, the mines were closed in 74. All residents were evacuated, leaving the island abandoned for decades. The island structure have been subject to severe weather, including typhoons, leading to significant deterioration. Tourism, after being closed to public for over 30 years, Hashima was reported reopened for tourism, but access is strictly controlled through guided tours due to safety concerns from the decaying buildings. Hashima was included as part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site list. Very cool. Sites of Japan's Meiji Industrial Revolution, iron and steel, shipbuilding, and coal mining. However, this inclusion was controversial due to history of forced labor during World War II. Hmm. Appearing in several films and documentaries, inspired the villain's lair in James Bond film Skyfall, and was used as a filming location for the movie adaptation of Attack on Titan. Hmm. Current status: ongoing efforts to preserve the architectural remnants as they represent significant industrial history. Takafumi Noguchi have been studying the decay of the concrete buildings to find ways to preserve them. Island serves as an educational site about Japan's industrial past and the social implications of industrialization and deindustrialization. Hmm. Experience includes a boat trip from Nagasaki with limited exploration of the island due to safety concerns. Visitors are not allowed to enter buildings. Right, right, right. These buildings are so weak. I think probably we might have like drones and humanoids checking out this entire place. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. Wow. Wow. We know about the Chernobyl. I think we have watched the series on it. Varosha. Let's check this out. Tell me more about the story of Varosha. I think I've. Hmm. There's another city which is all about I forgot which country, but the country wanted to create a new capital because the existing capital became too dense, too many people, overcrowded, the infrastructure was dying, so they had to create a new capital. Now, this new capital was too far, but really fancy buildings, and once they created it, not many people actually moved over there. So now it's again like a beautiful buildings, but a ghost town with beautiful buildings. It's crazy. And Varosha seems to be very similar. This whole city is abandoned. The city is often called a ghost town. The real name is Varosha and it is located in Cyprus. Look at the water. Look at the water. Look at the water. Wow. Wow. So I visited Varosha ghost town, an abandoned part of the Cyprus city of Famagusta. Before 1974, it was the modern tourist area and its inhabitants fled during the Turkish invasion of Cyprus and has remained abandoned ever since. Wow. Wow. Look at this. These buildings. Hmm. Wow. 2020. Unilaterally announced that the part of Arusha under military occupation by Turkey since 74 will be open to the public on Thursday. Hmm. After decades of abandonment, images from Google Maps tell you all you need to know: the shining white rooftops and the blackened husk of Arusha in the south. Interesting. With the island's tourist industry in tatters, Varosha's luxurious high-rise hotels were certainly worthless. But to the rich Greek Cypriots that owned them, they were still valuable. Turkey wanted to keep hold of Varosha and trade it back to Greece in exchange for recognition. Mara, okay, we don't understand. No photo. No photo. Varosha rose to become one of the world's top tourist destinations, but decades of inter-ethnic violence had been brewing in Cyprus. Its majority Greek Cypriot and minority Turkish Cypriot population were increasingly at odds. Hmm. Was an affluent southern quarter of the Cypriot city of Famagusta. It was a modern tourist area of the city with around 39,000 residents and the biggest tourist destination in Cyprus. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Beautiful for that time. Ghost towns are rarely abandoned all at once, whether caused by catastrophe or economic change. The decline is usually slow. But the strange story of Varosha shows how one of the world's most popular tourist destinations became an empty, crumbling ruin overnight. Hmm. One of the most popular tourist destinations, known for its sandy beaches and upscale hotels, it attracted celebrities like Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, and Brigitte Bardot. We learned about Brigitte Bardot and how her movie was involved in the popularity of Saint Tropez in Sud de la France, south of France. South of France, right? Yeah, French Riviera. Turkish invasion. The story of Marusha took a dramatic turn during the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in July and August of 1974, following a coup d'etat by Greek Cypriots aiming for Enosis, union with Greece. Hmm. During the Turkish invasion of Cyprus, following a coup by Greek Cypriots aiming for union with Greece, evacuation. As Turkish forces advanced, the Greek Cypriot population, fearing violence, evacuated Varosha. Approximately 39,000 residents left their homes, expecting to return once the conflict subsided. After the invasion, Varosha was fenced off by the Turkish military, turning it into a restricted military zone. No one was allowed to return, and the area was left untouched, leading to its nickname, the Ghost Town. 84 UN Security Council Resolution 550 condemned the attempt to settle any part of Morosha by people other than its original inhabitants and called for its transfer to UN administration for the resettlement of its original residents. The resolution has not been implemented. That is crazy. This thing was passed in 84. We are in 2024. 40 years. State of Varosha over time decay. Without maintenance, Varosha's hotels, shops, and homes deteriorated. The once luxurious buildings became symbols of the Cyprus conflict, left to the elements with nature reclaiming the area. There were accounts of initial looting when the area was first abandoned, but afterwards it was sealed off. Partial reopening. In 2017, a portion of the beach was reopened for the exclusive use of Turkish Cypriots and tourists from Turkey, marking the first time civilians had access since 1974. In October 2020, Cyprus breakaway Turkish Cypriot administration announced plans to reopen parts of Varosha to the public, stirring international controversy and leading to protests from Greek Cypriots and the Republic of Cyprus, which sees Varosha as illegally occupied territory. Hmm. Negotiation has been a focal point in the Cyprus reunification talks. The idea of returning Varosha to its Greek Cypriot owners has been part of various peace plans, including the Annan Plan in 2004, which was rejected in a referendum by Greek Cypriots. European Court of Human Rights has awarded compensation to some Greek Cypriots for the lost properties, recognizing that their rights were violated by the occupation, but actual resettlement remains politically complex. Marusha symbolizes displacement and loss, embodying the broader Cyprus issue. Cultural artifacts, personal belongings, and the physical decay all contribute to a poignant narrative of a community frozen in time. Hmm. Community frozen in time. It's true, like after 1974, that city hasn't changed. Like if you look over here in Vancouver, the city constantly kept evolving. Like after 1974, constantly houses, people who wanted to stay in their houses, they stayed in their houses. People who sold their houses, they were taken up by luxury developers. They made luxury buildings, and now the city is like a combination of has been constantly adapting. It's a combination of old and the new, everywhere. But 1974, that city was stuck in time. You can go there and you can experience, you can actually see how people lived there in 1974, what items they have in their house. I think they could just literally make that a museum and give it away to, and give that money all back to all the Greek Cypriot owners. That'd be really cool. Okay, let's see. Because nobody wants to go there back again. It's going to be really hard to start, like, kickstart that entire network state or network effects of that city again. Let's see. But at least you can, but at least they gave compensation to the owners. Give me some recent examples of cities that died in, let's say, Japan. Hmm. We've heard what happens over there is basically there are old people. They don't have, they usually have kids. They die. The houses are there, and that's how the city becomes a ghost town, because they're just old people who pass, and then there's nobody to take over, and these houses are empty. Yubari, Hokkaido. Background: once prosperous due to coal mining, Yubari's decline began with the end of the coal industry in the 1970s. The city declared bankruptcy in 2007, one of the first Japanese municipalities to do so in modern times. Hmm. Its population has plummeted from a peak of over 120,000 to around 8,000 today. Many buildings are abandoned and the city struggles with maintaining basic services. So coal mining was big. Like when you transition from coal to petroleum, that makes a difference. And I think we might see something similar when petroleum, we go from petroleum to EV. You can see all the economies that are built around petroleum industry or fossil fuel industry. Those cities will be impacted a lot, and things might go towards all the components that go into battery, that go into EV, such as lithium ion mining, lithium mining, cobalt mining. Yeah, just look at every single component that goes into battery, and those mining cities will become the centers, and all these fossil fuel mining cities, economies will dwindle. That would be interesting to see. Kamioka, Gifu Prefecture. Background: known for, oh no, this is Japanese. So Gifu Prefecture. Kamioka was known for its mining activities, particularly zinc and lead. Mines closed in 90s, leading to a significant population drop. Town's population has decreased dramatically, leaving many structures unused. It's now attempting to reinvent itself through scientific research, notably with the Super Kamiokande Neutrino Observatory. Well, what is that? Super Kamiokande Neutrino Observatory, but the town's vibrancy is far from what it once was. Matsuyama Yamagata Prefecture, not to be confused with the more famous Matsuyama in Ehime. The small town thrived on silk production, but faced decline after World War II with the advent of synthetic fibers. Hmm. These industry changes are massive. Like even yesterday, we looked at Audemars Piguet, like that came out of Val de Joux or Les Brazos, and that entire Val de Joux, that area is all about watchmaking. So when the world or the rich people move away from Swiss watchmaking to Apple watches or Garmin watches, that is gonna affect that entire region. That is gonna affect that entire region of Switzerland. This is very interesting. How some cities just become center of a particular trade, and when that trade is impacted because of a new technology, that entire city is impacted. The small town thrived on silk production but faced decline after World War II with the advent of synthetic fibers. Current state: now it faces severe depopulation with many homes. This is called Matsuyama, and this is silk production. Okay. Now it faces severe depopulation. Okay, the before ones were mining and mining. Okay. Kamioka was mining zinc and lead, and Yubari was specifically to coal mining. It struggles with maintaining basic services. And this is zinc and lead. It's now attempting to reinvent itself through scientific research, but the town's vibrancy is far from what it once was. Matsuyama, current state. Now it faces severe depopulation with many homes abandoned and local businesses closed. The town's infrastructure struggles to support a dwindling population, leading to a death of its former economic and cultural life. Kitsuki, Oita, background, known for its castle town heritage. Kitsuki has seen a significant population decrease due to rural exodus. Hmm. Decline. The town has lost over 50% of its population since 1950s. The traditional buildings are falling into disrepair, and the local economy struggles with many young people moving to urban centers for better opportunities. That is interesting. Nishiawakura, Okayama, a once thriving forestry town. The decline in the forestry industry has led to depopulation, with the town having less than 1,500 residents. Many houses and businesses are abandoned, and there is a struggle to maintain local governance and services. Hmm. Economic shifts. The decline of traditional industries like mining, silk production, or forestry has been a common issue. Rural exodus to urban areas for work and education opportunities has left these places with aging and shrinking population. The maintenance of infrastructure becomes challenging with fewer people to support it. Some towns have tried revitalization through tourism, cultural preservation, or new industries, but the transformation is often slow or insufficient to reverse the decline. Hmm. This is interesting. You have to go through the cycles of when you are at the peak, you enjoy the peak, and then decay because that makes room for new things. Hmm. Wow. Give me some examples of recent cities that died in India. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, we have some interesting names over here. Dhanush Kodi. Dhanush means bow. Once a bustling town and a port on Pamban Island, connected to the mainland by a railway, Dhanush Kodi thrived due to its proximity to Sri Lanka for trade and pilgrimage. A devastating cyclone hit in 1964, leading to the destruction of the town and the death of many residents. Indian government declared it an uninhabitable area, leading to its abandonment. Today, it's known as a ghost town with only a few families living there, mainly for fishing and tourism related to its historical ruins. Hmm. Kuldara. Kuldara was once a prosperous village of the Paliwal Brahmins in the Jaisalmer district. The village was abandoned in 19th century with legends saying the residents left overnight to escape the tyranny of the local intrigued by its history curse. Hmm. Legends saying the residents left overnight to escape the local divan. Lakhpat, Gujarat, one significant trading port on the Kutch coast, wealthier than Mumbai in its heyday in the 18th century. The town's decline began with the shifting of the Indus River and subsequent silting of the port, reducing its navigability. Multiple invasions, natural disasters like earthquakes, and the general move of economic activity inland due to its abandonment. Now it's a sparsely populated village with ruins of its past grandeur. Wow. Lakpat, luck means, yeah, money. So wealthier than Mumbai. Okay. Vijaynagar, Hampi. The capital of Vijaynagar Empire, Hampi was one of the richest and largest cities in the world during the 14th to 16th century. The city was sacked by the Deccan Sultanates in the Battle of Talikota, Talikota in 1565, leading to its abandonment. While not entirely dead, the urban center of Vijayanagar was never rebuilt. What remains are ruins, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site with a small modern village around it. Fatehpur Sikri, established by Emperor Akbar as his capital in the late 16th century, was a magnificent city showcasing Mughal architecture. Abandoned shortly after his death due to lack of water supply, it became a ghost town. It's a major tourist attraction, but not a living city, with old structures in preservation. Hmm. I'm actually really curious about Lakpat. Tell me more. Wow, the city of Lakpat. Hmm. The fort. This is near Kutch. Hmm. Town in the Kutch district of Gujarat, India, located near the mouth of Kori Creek, close to the Indian-Pakistan border. Owner of 1 lakh, derived from the legend that the town generated a daily income of 1 lakh Kori, an ancient currency of the Kutch state, or from Rao Lakha, who ruled in Sindh around 13th century. Owner of 1 lakh, derived from the legend that the town generated daily income of 1 lakh. Hmm. Trade. Once a vibrant port city, pivotal for trade between Gujarat and Sindh. In its prime, the town was known for its wealth, with rice cultivation and maritime trade contributing significantly to its economy. Town is encircled by a 7 kilometer long fort wall constructed in the early 19th by Jamadar Fateh Muhammad, intended to protect the city from invaders and natural disasters. Decline began after an earthquake in 1819, which altered the course of the Indus River, leading to the silting of the port and loss of its primary trade route. The natural event drastically reduced its economic viability. From a peak population of around 15,000 in the early 19th century, population dwindled to a few hundred residents. Many buildings within the fort walls were abandoned, contributing to its ghost town status. Gurudwara. Lakhpat Gurudwara Sahib, where Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, is believed to have stayed during his journeys, holds some of his relics and is a site of pilgrimage. Tomb of Pir Ghaus Muhammad, a prominent Sufi saint, his tomb is known for its intricate carvings and is believed to have healing water, showcasing the syncretic culture of the region. There's also an ancient Shiva temple, adding to the religious diversity. With many of its structures in disrepair, symbolizing its past glory, the fort walls are still largely intact, providing a historical walk back in time. Despite its decline, attracts tourists interested in history, architecture, and the eerie atmosphere of a once thriving city now largely abandoned. The town's isolation near the border, surrounded by the Great Run of Kutch, adds to its allure. Border. Close to the international border, the area is also under surveillance by the BSF of India, which adds another layer to the experience. It's about 135 kilometers from Bhuj, the district headquarters. Access is primarily by road with limited public transport options. Hiring a car or taking one of the few state transport buses is common. There are no hotels. Visitors typically stay nearby Narayan Sarovar or Bhuj or at Gurudwara with prior permission. Hmm. Featured in films like Refugee 2000, where it was portrayed as a town in Pakistan, showcasing its unique landscape and architecture. Efforts have been made to preserve some of its historical structures, like the Gurudwara, which received recognition from UNESCO. There's an ongoing discussion about how to revitalize or at least preserve this historical site, potentially turning it into a more significant tourist destination while respecting its current state as a symbol of history and time. Wow, very interesting. Okay, this will be a last thing. Tell me more about, because one of my childhood buddies, I believe he was from Vijayanagar. That's crazy. City of Victory. It's crazy. Like they're city names, and now they are nothing. They are abandoned. They're ghost towns. Lakhpat or 1 lakh. Vijayanagar, City of Victory. Established in 1336 by the brothers Harihara and Bukka of the Sangam dynasty, marking the beginnings of the Vijayanagar. along the banks of Tunga Bhadra, surrounded by stunning granite boulders and hills, rise to glory under the reigns of Dev Raya. Krishna Dev Rai, known as the Golden Age, Vijayanagar became one of the world's largest and richest cities, famous for its wealth, art, culture, and military might. The city is renowned for its Dravidian architecture, characterized by grand temples, palaces, fortifications, and intricate carvings. Notable structures include the Virupaksh temple, the Vittal temple with its musical pillars, and the Lotus Mahal. The city was meticulously planned with wide streets, markets, aqueducts, and fortifications, demonstrating advanced urban design for its time. Battle began after the Battle of Talikot in 1565, where the combined forces of the Deccan sultanates defeated the Vijayanagar army. The city was pillaged and the wealth was looted, leading to its abandonment. The capital was shifted to Penukonda and later to Chandragiri, leaving Vijayanagar in ruins. Hampi was declared as UNESCO World Heritage Site for its cultural significance and the exemplary ruins of the Vijayanagar empires. Major tourist attraction drawing visitors with its historical ruins, temples, and the unique landscape of boulder strewn hills. It is also a place for backpackers, history enthusiasts, and those interested in Indian mythology, as it's linked with the Ramayana epic. Virupaksh Temple, one of the oldest functioning temples in India dedicated to Lord Shiva, Vittal, known for its stone chariot and musical pillars. Famous for its detailed carvings depicting scenes from Ramayana. It includes structures like the Queen's Bath, Lotus Mahal, and elephant stables. Hmm. Offers panoramic views of the ruins and houses several temples. The highest point in Hampi providing a breathtaking view of the sunset over the ruins. Believed to be part of the mythical Kishkinda, the monkey kingdom in the Ramayana, where Hanuman and Sugriv lived. Whoa, very cool, very cool. Hampi has a living cultural tradition with festivals like the annual Chariot Festival at the Virupaksh Temple. Tourism has become a significant economic driver with efforts to preserve and promote the site's historical and cultural assets. Hmm. Balancing the influx of tourists with the need for conservation is an ongoing challenge, ensuring that the site's heritage is preserved while accessible. Also faces issues from tourism and local activities. Really cool. Wow. Okay, that's the stream. Thank you.